another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week, we're talking about one of the most insulting, pandering films to try to break into a new community of horror fans that I've ever seen. 2000's Killjoy, picked by Brian. So, Brian, step up. You need to explain yourself.
I am so sorry. I don't remember it being this low budget or this bad. Like it was a tough it was a tough watching. And what year did this come out?
2000.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't during it, but it was just like, man, remember when like movies like in the ghetto were like an expression of class struggle, and then we get like Killjoy.
I hope that's what you were going towards.
Well,
Yes,
well,
I agree.
that's the thing, and like they are not even hiding the like. I believe I have to double check. I should have researched this. I believe this was put out on a completely different Full Moon imprint. Like, you know, like Full Moon had all their different levels. So there was like Moonstone that was like kids movies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was like, we're going to break into the urban cinemas and we're going to make movies that speak to the crowd that isn't being spoken to by horror just yet. And it's like, this is an insult. This is more insulting than the Native Americans in the Curse 3 from last month.
Oh, you mean like the what did they call them? The fucking
they basically just called them the Savages without saying it, but like, yeah, like it's just so insulting. And
they like had a checklist for like every stereotype needs to have a character in this movie.
It's so bad.
They even have the white boy in it, so it's pretty much straight up every single thing that you could possibly hate.
Yeah,
and it opens with that girl singing, and
weird.
And it's right away the dialogue. You're just like, oh, this is going to be really insulting. Because she's like, oh, girl, you crazy. And I'm like, oh, no. Yeah. That's the first line of dialogue. Dread sank into my stomach. And then they started talking about studying for school. And I was like, how are you in school?
Yeah.
Yeah, these women are 27. 40. Yeah.
And then her boyfriend pulls up and you could tell that the budget was low because they didn't have the car bouncing up and down as it drove down the street.
And yeah, so this geeky guy who is just overacting the geekiness to like an absurd level right out the gate is just like, hey, would you like to go to the prom with me? Which is how you know it's high school and not college, which is all the more insulting because like they barely would pass for college, but certainly not high school.
Yeah, this is no Shrieker, all right, guys?
Yeah. But I mean, it's about the same running time. Thankfully. And like her boyfriend's like, yo, bro, you talking to my girl? And then they fight. And he goes...
No, they don't fight. They just kick the shit out of him.
Well, they beat the shit out of him. But he goes from like dork to voodoo black magic.
It's so ridiculous.
Just immediately. And then is like just as quickly tricked into, yo, bro, we just want to talk. Come hang out. It's like...
Yeah, my spidey sense would have been going nuts.
Why is your window open? Like, just close your fucking window.
Yeah, like, okay, if you live in the projects, are you really going to have your window open in the middle of the night to hear dogs barking and people getting shot?
Yeah, like, I guess you could make the argument that it's probably, if it's prom season, it's probably, like, late spring, and maybe it's getting real hot, and you need that, like, air coming through.
But, or like, maybe it helps them sleep. Like, remember in Boy Meets World, where, Eric meets his brother and he has the CD to help him fall asleep and it's sounds of the trailer park and it's just like domestic violence and fucking drug horns.
Man, hard-hitting topics here on Horror Movie Night.
God,
that was Boy Meets World
too. That was a children's show that they did that.
But
it was also the 90s where you could get away with a lot.
Yeah.
So the idiot walks down to this group, like clearly a gang, and goes for a ride. I for a split second genuinely thought that they were going to go with the gun fake out, but he dies of a heart attack.
I did too. Yeah,
I was like,
going to explode from fear.
Yeah. But I was just like, or the gun just happens to accidentally be loaded. But like everyone knows that Lorenzo kills this guy, but like Lorenzo's just like hanging out with his buddies and got a new girlfriend when we jump forward a year.
Yeah, and that okay, so am I like just a little too early in our discussion here to ask what the fuck happens to her? Because she gets chased by Killjoy. Well, so she shows her body and then she takes a shower and then she gets chased by Killjoy, and there are only 13 people in the cast of this film, and I can probably tell you who they are on my fingers. That's I mean there are no extras.
Yeah.
Except for her.
Where did she go?
Like she does and it really is a huge plot hole for me, because all Killjoy does is kill people and then use those people, those murdered people as like tricks.
Like bait. Yeah.
Yeah, like bait and tricks. So I don't know if she was just like, fuck this, I'm out. I showed my boobs and I don't want to show any more of anything. Or
maybe so here's a theory. Because they also kill Lorenzo around that same time, and then they start coming after the ex-girlfriend and her friends. So maybe the thought process was just like, I mean, this is probably deeper thinking than the screenplay writer. I'm sure you're right that she was just like, yeah, I'm out. But they might just be like, well, they probably have no clue who this girl is. She's just some girl that Lorenzo's having sex with. So, like, what good is she going to be as, like, a trick?
I don't know, man. These are things that are going to keep me up at night thinking about fucking Killjoy.
So things that'll keep me up at night is there's this awkward scene. Spiders. There's this awkward scene where Lorenzo's ex-girlfriend, I don't know why the only names I remember are Lorenzo and Michael, but
because they keep saying, yo, Lorenzo.
Yeah.
So Lorenzo's ex, who's like the survivor girl of this movie, is getting tutored by some guy.
No, she's tutoring him.
Oh, she's tutoring him. Sorry.
Yeah, and then he shows her a little something.
Well, but that's the thing. So he opens up to her, and then she's like, I can't. And he's like, you're still hung up on Lorenzo. And she goes, well, what do you want from me? He took my virginity. And I'm like, that is such an unreasonable thing to just say to this guy.
But then and
then they're having sex immediately after.
No, the bigger you're missing the most ridiculous and egregious part of that whole scene is when he goes, why are you thinking about Lorenzo? You need to be thinking about Michael. Because like, what? Oh, yes. Okay, so you're trying to make a play for this girl who's fucked up over this thing that happened a year ago. Bring up the guy that her ex-boyfriend fucking murdered.
I get what over
her.
I also kind of get what he's saying, where it's like, hey, if you're going to think about Lorenzo, think about the fact that he's a fucking human monster that killed this dude, Michael. Like, to kind of remind her, like, he's not worth thinking about. But you're right. The wording is all wrong and is not doing what it... But apparently it fucking works, because next time we see them, they're deep in a boning session.
They got to fucking.
They got to fucking. There's that scene, and then before we cut to them having sex, there's the three gang members just getting stoned and rapping, and man, that freestyle screams written by a middle-aged white guy for other people.
You know, I honestly can't tell, because in the first 20 minutes, so let's say the first act, I guess. Well, the first act is when they gets murdered, and then they move to second act when it's a year later, I suppose. But I am somewhat charmed at the very beginning by how bad the acting is and how it just seems like they're trying. But then they get to the rapping part and I'm like, nope. The honeymoon's over, friends.
Yeah, you lost me.
Yeah. Oh, man. So this is the only English-speaking role, I think, that Killjoy's in. Because I
all of the Killjoy movies, and then...
No. They got a different actor from after this.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's
he can speak English just fine, though. I mean, it's
he can. I was shocked. I mean, because like, and I don't know that for sure. I'm making assumptions, but every other title in IMDb is in Spanish. Like the name of the movie is in Spanish. So this was American.
Except he had a couple small things. In 1992, he played Tito Jackson in the miniseries The Jacksons, An American Dream.
I must have missed that one.
and he was in one episode of Baywatch.
Wow, was he like a drowning victim or something?
Because I
It
went on
says
the weird
JT.
rabbit hole with this movie. Even when it was over, I watched every trailer for every Killjoy movie because they just kept coming up, and like customers always also watched.
Yeah.
And
Do you recognize who plays Killjoy in all the other movies?
no,
It's he gets a lot of shit from Lloyd Kaufman because he used to be a writer and actor for Troma,
really,
and then he left Troma to star in all the Killjoy movies. Like, he's still friends with Lloyd, but like in all of his books, he calls him out for being an idiot for going and doing all those Killjoy movies. But he played Jerry in Terra Firma and the leader of the diaper gang in
Oh.
Citizen Toxie,
wow.
and then went on to be one of my least favorite writers because he wrote Cheap Thrills and
Oh,
Dead
he
Girl.
wrote Cheap Fucking Thrills?
And Dead Girl, yeah.
Oh my god. Wow, fuck him.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, Dead Girl's awful.
Has anyone seen all the Killjoys?
I've seen 3 of them because of the
Wait,
box set that
there's
I
more
bought.
than 3 of them?
And
There's,
honestly,
the 7th one just came out.
What?
I want to see some of them. Now, based on the trailer, it looks like we already saw this one. The second one, it looks like it has a Pumpkinhead kind of vibe, where this woman, their friend's dying, and this woman tells them the story of Killjoy. They summon Killjoy. The third one looks like it's at a college that he comes in. But as far as like continuity, the fourth one is he had 3 attempts to take a soul and failed, so he's on trial in hell, to be kept in hell. And then the 5th one is he escapes from hell, and he's on Earth, and he has a talk show, and it's just him like doing drugs and fucking girls, and hell trying to get him back to hell, which I am kind of curious to see. That's
that falls in. I was gonna say that falls into kind of what most of the full moon pictures have become, because
They're very, very meta.
Well, I was gonna say the only Evil Bong movie that I still own is Evil Bong 420 because my old boss is in it.
Yeah.
And that movie is an hour and 10 minutes long, and an hour of the movie is just people getting stoned and hanging out in a bowling alley while it's building the relationship story between Ginger Dead Man and the Evil Bong. Like, it has almost no kills or anything. It's just like a wacky comedy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where they just were like, we don't have the budget for kills anymore. So, like, let's just lean on the fact that these characters are moderately known. I definitely remember 2 and 3 being better than 1, but it's like a pretty low bar.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad movie. I actually, not to get completely off topic, but just thinking about budgets and Full Moon. Is Full Moon behind The Littlest Reich?
Yeah, that's a Full Moon picture.
Because that
they do all the Puppet Masters.
Yeah, but
well,
I didn't know if they got like licensed it out, because like you saw it.
They licensed that out.
All right, I was gonna say, because that's a fucking fun ass movie, and like not shy on budget.
Well, it's pretty low budget, but it's not like it's not current level low budget for Full Moon.
Yeah, I mean, like the blood looked better than any other Full Moon picture. Man, I love it.
What do you take that back? Blood, the fucking subspecies, man, they had so much blood.
How dare you?
Hey, Scott, I think that vampirism's sexually transmitted.
Dude, I don't think, oh man. Matt, can someone back me up? Jackie, Joshua, if anyone's listening, you guys are all mishearing me. I'm not saying vampirism is sexually transmitted. I'm saying their dicks have the Black Plague. And if you have sex with them, you'll get other sexually transmitted diseases.
I get what you're saying.
I'm just making a joke about your proclivities here.
You're saying that they've been around for hundreds of years and can't die, so whatever diseases they have, they don't even know that they have.
They don't know.
All right.
I actually think that that's a really good idea for like a vampire movie, is that like they talk about there's so many movies about contagion and it's all zombies. Let's talk about a vampire movie that's about contagion, where he's like just looking for, or they're just looking for love, but they just keep infecting their lovers with obscure diseases that no one gets, and then you can have like a forensic a scientist who's like, where the CDC is like, I don't believe these things are happening, and then the scientist is like, yes, but this is the way it could be happening, a vampire, and they're like, you're out of a job, and then he's like, fuck, and so he's drinking his way to towards the truth, and then he can't. He's inoculated because he is fucking drunk. So the alcohol kills all the diseases, and he's the only one that can kill the vampire.
And we can go like super political on it, and it's just like
anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, it's just like it's the Muslims are bringing these diseases back, and then like the other people are like it's global warming, and it's nope, it's a vampire the whole time.
I love it. You ever see that movie Werewolf of Washington? It's gonna be like that. Super political.
We're super topical here, guys.
All right, so it's been 50 minutes. We still haven't actually talked about Killjoy.
I'm out of notes
Brian,
that I didn't.
I haven't touched any of them, but let me just. Oh man, can I just run through a couple things?
Yeah. We'll shoot through them, but I want to point out Brian brought up the actor who played Killjoy, and like as annoying as that character is, he's the only person who I feel like has any actual ability to act. Like he seems to have fleshed out a character.
You
just feel like they're reading lines.
There is one scene, and I can't remember it, and I wish I took notes, where the guy is literally fumbling over his lines.
No, I wrote it down. Yeah. I wrote it down because I was like, did that really happen? He goes, well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, so I think he was playing his character because his character's drunk and high.
Oh, maybe, because I just thought
I'm sticking with he botched the line, and that was the best thing they had.
It was like the video we sent in the Beats Creeps thing. Like I'm just picturing the Jack Donaghy in 30 Rock. What's my line? Line. Okay, this time don't.
Well, that was fun. 2.5 days later.
Yeah. Well, and God, they're so secretive about what Killjoy looks like, as if he's not on the cover of every one of these.
I know, dude.
He's like nothing impressive. They're like not showing his face for 30 minutes in this 55-minute movie.
The hair. It's the hair.
Scott, I want you to go on Google right now. I want you to type in on Google Images both Killjoy 2 and Killjoy 3. Because the hair and the other, like, I don't know which one's worse out of the first three.
Oh my fuck.
All right,
2's really bad. 3 is the least terrible.
Yeah.
And he gets like a little Harley Quinn type helper in it.
Yeah, Killjoy 2 is just over the top.
Dude, Killjoy 3, he actually he looks pretty solid. And
he looks like a what the hell is it? Spawn like a villain. You know?
He looks like the clown in Spawn.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo, there we go. But there's also a woman who's in full body paint, and you can see her nips.
Yeah.
So it's actually selling it for me.
You can't keep a bad clown down.
Anyway, let me burn through some of these goddamn notes, and they're just quotes. It just so happens that I am an undercover drug dealer in an ice cream truck dressed as a clown.
Well, I wrote down that whole scene feels like a bad PSA. Like it feels
feels like it's fucking hilarious is what it feels like.
Ryan, you know the PSA that I'm thinking of?
No.
You don't hang out with him. He does drugs.
Yeah, I know that. I couldn't get the reference though.
Yeah, I was just like, when I think of bad drug PSAs, that's the one that comes to my mind.
No, he not. Yeah, he is. No, he not.
He do drugs and you gonna do them too. What a strange commercial.
Yeah.
Strange anti-drug commercial.
I like our anti-cigarette commercials from when we were a kid that assured you that 1 in 3 people die of smoking cigarettes. Do you remember
the truth one?
Yeah, and it was like
those aren't from your childhood. I forgot you're so young, but they still do.
The truth is still going.
No, I'm talking about like the ones where it was like this one specific one is like bungee jumping. And it was like the one kid bungee jumps, the third kid second kid bungee jumps, and then the third kid, when he bungee jumps, as soon as the line like stretches, he explodes. and then
What?
it's like 1 in 3 smokers die.
It just explodes.
The newest Truth ones I actually really like because it's the claymation, like little lungs in a great big world.
I don't have cable, so I don't see any of the good commercials.
Yeah, I don't see
it's
these either.
Dope. It's dope. It's a series of commercials about tiny little lungs that have smoked too much, so it's not able to do what everyone else can do. But because it's claymation, it always like explodes into gore. Like it's insane.
Wow, this is doing it for me. I'm
like they'll
feeling
be
it.
like, they're like, "Hey, little lungs, let's go skiing," and he's like, "I love skiing," and then like he's like, "Oh my god, this is so much work, I can't do it," and he like hits the ramp awkwardly and then lands and gets pinned on a bunch of tree branches with them poking through all of his lungs.
What the shit?
And his like eyeball falls out, and then there's just like a little theme. It's just like little lungs in a great big world.
That sounds like a parody. I can't believe that's reality.
It's real. It comes on all the time when I'm watching Monday Night Raw, and I'm like, God, this is great.
All right.
Every time I hear that theme.
I thought you made that up, but wow, that's incredible. All right, so I got my kombucha going. I'm ready for some more quotes. I have come to deliver you some drugs. But also, who smokes a random blunt they find in a clown's murder warehouse? Like, he just finds this comically large blunt, and he's just like, "It's good shit." And secondly, the blunt looks like those cookie straws, like the Pepperidge Farm makes them. I think they're called Pirouettes, right?
Maybe.
No.
That's what that blunt looks like. It looks like a fucking candy, like a cookie straw.
Yeah, what Grandma Kelly used to have in her little straw.
Okay.
Yeah.
God rest her
They got
soul.
like she's still alive.
I know. That's why I said. That worked so much better than I thought it would. But there is a line where right after that, all I wrote down, I can't remember. It was after what the fuck is it? The bad guy, the main bad guy, not Killjoy, the drug dealer. Lorenzo. He gets done banging this girl, and he goes, "Yeah, you better take a shower. Yo, pussy stank anyway."
Oh Jesus!
Like that is, I think that's the point of the movie where I was like, wait. I don't know if this was written by like a person of color from the actual project.
It was not. Yeah. I don't have to do research for you. I can tell you it was not.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that was where my questions began.
Yeah.
Can we talk about, since you're mentioning that anyway, the worst post-sex conversation possibly in history? Where she wants to know his 5-year plan suddenly.
Yeah, that's the scene, and he's like, "I'm just thinking about getting through the day."
Yeah. You know why I don't know the answer to that? Because I don't give a shit about the future.
Man, he's ridiculous, and that woman is way too pretty to be in this movie. Like, she's actually quite attractive, and I'm not saying that the Survivor girl's not attractive, but she also doesn't get naked, so it's just like, why they didn't pay her anything to be in this movie. Like, what the fuck is she doing here? So then there is a line where I think it's Lorenzo, and he goes, "Damn, this motherfucker got some big ass feet." Which I know this movie is supposed to be a horror comedy, and I didn't laugh until then. But that line just tickled me. I don't know. And then he goes, "Fuck off, clown," which I feel like I have said every single time we've done so many clown movies, guys. Like, even before Brian came on, we were doing clown movies, and it's not fair. It is not a game. But there's actually another running joke in this film that we somehow stumble upon constantly. Need a hand.
Whoa.
Yeah. Need a hand is
we
always
just
in
saw
movies.
that in House of Wax. What the fuck else? We see it all the time. Like, the Leprechaun, I think, did it, and oh man.
But like, so you're naming some of the good quotes.
I'm trying to be positive, okay?
But man, there's also the really weird "It's Miller time" line.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that even about? And then Killjoy at the very end, before he just makes Michael disappear, goes, "It's dinner time."
Yeah, so he
But like, he
eats
doesn't eat
souls,
him.
I guess.
I don't know. I like, and that's the thing. Like, there's so many times where Killjoy says something, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be dope. Like, he's like, "It's dinner time," and I'm like, man, this giant Killjoy head's just gonna fucking bite down on Michael. And then he just evaporates. And then there's like the one sign where he's like, "I'm gonna smoke you," and I'm like, oh dude, he's gonna wrap him into a giant blunt, and then the guy
How
just, like,
amazing
turns
would that
into
have?
ash.
That would
I
have been
know.
so good. So now we're just having the conversation of how much better this movie could have been if we would have made it. It still would probably have been culturally insensitive, and so we shouldn't make it. But man, at least our jokes wouldn't suck.
Yeah.
I will say that there's 2 moments in this movie that made me laugh out loud, and they probably neither one of them was intentional. But they're visited by a ghost.
Oh my
explains-
God,
Yeah.
Mr. Exposition! I forgot all about him.
Yeah, he just shows up, explains to them exactly how to kill Killjoy. So they
They
think
forget.
that they think that they've killed him, and then out of nowhere you just hear, as if he's Zordon talking to the Power Rangers, "Judy, don't forget the doll."
No, her name's
Which
not
is
Judy.
so-
It's Jada. And the reason I
Jada,
remember that is
yeah.
because my last 2 notes is Killjoy tweaks his fucking nipples after he kisses Jada. He just goes, "Ooh."
And then the other line, which is like, here's the thing. This line makes me laugh because it's something that Brian and I would write as like making fun of a bad movie. And it's after they've killed Killjoy, it just cuts to them all having dinner together, and this is how the scene starts. I haven't laughed this hard in a long time.
Yeah. All my friends are dead.
Like that's what I mean. I'm like, this is so outrageous, and their laughter's so over the top. And then the girl just goes, "But I still keep having nightmares."
All they need to do is just extend that laughter like a minute, and this movie would go up so much higher. My thing, like,
oh dude,
it was just like, I haven't laughed this long in a while. The one where someone breaks a plate over their own head.
Oh Christ!
At least we're having fun talking about Killjoy, and this is more than I can say for actually watching Killjoy.
Oh no, it's a torture.
I feel like that's so much of what we do on this show, though, is we're like, this wasn't fun. Let's make it fun together.
Yeah, I mean, like,
join
I
us.
picked The Plague, and there was another one I picked, and this is the
You have
most
bad
guilty
taste.
I've ever had.
You were never guilty about the plague. You were like, yeah, fuck you, deal with it.
Well, The Plague was pretty fun.
Well, that's because he was coming in heavy because it was his first pick.
He was also getting back at you for making him watch Bugged.
Ugh.
Which Bugged was way more fun than The Plague
Absolutely
or
not.
Killjoy. Bug has a cockroach with a gun.
Yeah,
That's
I liked
immediately
Bugged.
What do you
better.
think was a better episode, Bugged or The Plague?
Bugged?
Bugged.
Exactly. So Bugged was a worse movie.
Terrible logic. Plague had nothing. I mean, Plague wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah,
Plague
it is
was
a
a
bad
nothing.
movie.
It was a nothing. It existed in no way, shape, or form.
No, dude, I still say that The Plague is a bad film.
No.
right.
Poppycock.
Poppycock!
Are we done with Killjoy? Can we please move on to our double features
Yeah.
and stop talking about this?
Yeah.
All right. So, double features, go.
Brian.
Okay. So, I don't know why I picked up this DVD one year, but it was pretty much a DVD of, it was the 4 films, and it was 4 films in one, and 3 of them were all remakes. So I think it was maybe for the Friday the 13th, but I got Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and then this clown movie called Amusement. And it's better than Killjoy, but it's still a bad movie. So I would put 2008's Amusement on for a shitty clown horror movie night.
All right. So, as I said earlier, this movie was very clearly attempting to speak to a culture that kind of is given the short end of the stick in horror films, especially in the 90s. So I'm going to actually follow this up. I'm going to wash my
Damn
mouth out with a movie that actually did that well.
Damn it!
and I'm gonna
no.
Tales from the Hood.
Okay.
Did
Right.
that well?
No, have you watched Tales from the Hood?
No, not in many years.
Tales from the Hood is, and we will probably talk about it one day when we lift the anthology thing for a month.
Oh yeah, like we haven't already
mentioned
that we're doing that shit, but yes, it's happening in a couple months.
But that movie is, I mean, the second one apparently is trash, but the first one really still holds up and is a powerful movie that uses its scenery to actually talk about real issues, not bullshit issues like Killjoy.
To sell you some drugs.
Okay, I'll have to give it a shot. Since I'm confident Scott won't pick it, my one that I was gonna do, but it was too much of a stretch, was, and you gotta make sure that you have overly offensive stereotypes. That's ridiculous.
I'm not laughing because I don't know what it is.
It's from this movie that Brian and I still argue is better than Scary Movie, called Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th, starring Coolio and Tom Arnold.
Yeah, and it was just
but there's
a
scene. Well, no, it's a scene where it's parodying the Randy scene from Scream, where the girl's like, you realize we're in a horror parody type situation, right? Like, you have to know there's very distinct rules to being in a horror parody. And she's like listing all of them, like, things are going to happen that make no sense. There's going to be references to things that are completely outrageous. And she's like, and you always have to lean hard on the terrible, offensive racial stereotypes. And it just cuts to a random black pimp sitting in the corner, and he goes, that's ridiculous, and then puts on a giant feather cap and a cane and walks away. There's so many lines in that movie that should not be as funny as they are because the movie's trash. But I always remember
is
the one
Tiffany
with,
Amber Thiessen in that?
Yep.
I remember the cover.
That's the one. That's the one that also has the line that Brian and I used to always use, where the pizza guy shows up and he goes, 24-hour pizza. If it's not here in 24 hours, we're not coming.
Stupid.
That is really fucking dumb.
All right, Scott, your double feature that you thought I was about to steal.
I thought you were going to say People Under the Stairs.
Oh,
also a good one.
But here's
also a good one.
I would,
but I think Tales from the Hood is a better one.
Right. Well, the reason why I would pick People Under the Stairs is it is an entertaining film. We've already spoken at length. Go back and listen to our fucking episode on it. My opinion has not changed. I think that it is not as good of a movie as people think. And I also think that Wes Craven was doing his white savior bullshit by making it. I don't think that it, and that's why it comes to mind with Killjoy, because if this movie was also some quote unquote woke white dude being like, I can speak to the black youths. Yeah, it's the same shit. Like, sorry, Wes Craven, I love some of what you did in your time on Earth, but nothing can forgive you for People Under the Stairs.
And I get people have their own opinions about movies, but if you're going to argue whether a movie is good or not, and that movie you're arguing has a dog being electrocuted because it's biting a child who's holding a man who's holding an electric doorknob, it's not a good movie. Just pack up your bags and say, you're right, I'm wrong, this is not a good movie. It's fun, but it's not a game.
But it's kind of a trash movie.
Yeah. So I have to clarify something. It does in fact look like this was written by a man of color, but it still is pretty rough.
Doesn't change, it honestly doesn't change my double feature, because I still think that they're both insensitive while trying to be woke.
Worked as a movie extra on such films as Mars Attacks, Jingle All the Way, and Moesha.
Wow. So, well, I guess he used that Mars Attacks money for fucking Killjoy 1.
All right. So real quick, what's something good that you've seen that's not Killjoy? I mean, I know that we all loved it, but
I'll just say I'm continuing to work through Twilight Zone, the new series, and it is just so good. I just love it. I really feel like people have opinions about Jordan Peele, and I feel like there's so much backlash right now. One, because of us, and two, because of Twilight Zone and people thinking that he's like Oh, not is it Twilight Zone? Where
The
he's
Candyman.
yeah, in the Candyman.
Or-
And he's like, I want to hire people of color because we need to have representation. And white people are like all up in arms because they're like, well, that's racism. No, it's not. It's
No,
fucking
not.
acting.
Representation. There's a difference.
Yeah, but yeah, I love his work. I mean, I know that he's just producing Twilight Zone. He doesn't have as much of a hand in it as he did in Get Out and Us. But I just think that it's what I wanted Black Mirror to be. And I know I said that last time I was talking about it, but it really scratches the itch for me, and I really, really like it a lot.
Well, piggybacking off of you talking about a TV show, I have binged the first 2 seasons and just started season 3 of The Good Place for the first time.
Yes.
Oh, it's perfect. It's such a good show.
So fun.
But it also has thrown me through at least 2 like deep thought existential crises while watching it. So, I mean, that's a sign of a well-written show to me. But yeah, like there's some episodes that have hit me a lot heavier than I expected things to hit me.
Yeah, but dude, that's because that show is deceptive. It is like there's a lot of research that they're doing when they're writing that show. It's absurd. Like that. It's so good. And it's so funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's very funny, and I won't say too much because I'm sure that there's people who haven't seen it, but there is a moment where a character tells another character that they're his friend, and it's such a growth moment for that character that it like literally like brought a single teardrop down the side of the face when it happened.
It doesn't take much to make Matt Kelly cry, but
that's also
it's
true.
also a sitcom, so you're not supposed to cry during sitcoms.
You should watch Atypical because I cried a lot.
And that's hey,
same.
Brian, you want to know why I haven't watched Atypical? Right there.
Yeah, doesn't want to cry.
I don't like feelings.
The therapy sessions are still very new. We'll get to the crying stage maybe sometime in November.
Really?
I felt pretty good with her today, and I could have cried if I wanted to. I just didn't. I didn't want to.
There you go. You can cry if you want to. All right, Brian, let's hear yours, and then we'll wrap.
I hope
up.
I didn't mention this before because I'm kind of going back like 2 weeks, just because my life has been so hectic. I haven't watched anything new. But I know I wanted to mention The Hole in the Ground. Did I mention that at all?
Does not ring a bell.
I really wanted to because I really wanted Scott to watch it. It's an A24 movie. Check it out. It's good. I think I want to leave it at that. I don't want to give anything away. It's not great. The last 20 minutes alone is why I'm like, Scott Roger would love this movie.
Right. So I just saw an article that said these are the 10 best horror movies that have come out so far in 2019. And The Hole in the Ground was on that list. And I read a little bit of the synopsis, and they lost me at Creepy Child. And then they said something about the ending that isn't a spoiler, but it's on my radar. It was on my radar as of yesterday. And you saying that the last 20 minutes are very Scott Roger, to me, means that my assumptions are correct, and so it is going higher on my list.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice. All right. Well, that was Killjoy from 2000. It's picked by Brian. Thanks, buddy. You've come a really long way from the Night of the Comet and some of the other movies you've picked. Curse 3 was recently. So
see, here's the thing. You guys are Phantom.
We don't have time for this.
You guys are Phantom of the Menace in me. I'm George Lucas. I gave you Star Wars. All right. I'm sorry I gave you Killjoy. I gave you Out of the Dark. What more do you want from me?
So we'll be back next week with another episode of the podcast. It's picked by me. It's got babies in it. Try to figure it out. It's tied to summer very indirectly. And you know what? Real quick, because I realized that I have done just a shit job. This is coming out after I've gotten back from San Diego Comic-Con, and not once in any episode that I mentioned that I'd be there. So if you are looking to meet someone from Horror Movie Night, just me for the most part, this August, I will be at Scares That Care in Virginia. I will be at Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I will be at the Creature Feature Weekend in Gettysburg. So, definitely come to all of those events, say hi, and who knows, maybe if timing and money and budget is right, there will be some other horror movie night people besides just myself. I do know that I should be doing a couple panels at Creature Feature Weekend, so come and check that out. But to keep up on all of the exciting stuff going on, you got to hit up our social medias. So our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, it's all HMN Podcast, and our website, hmnpodcast.com. And before I forget, because I almost forgot to do this, and I really need to say this, September is going to be listener submitted month. So get those emails into us at hmnpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what movies you think we should be watching, and we'll narrow it down to the 4 that we actually feel like sitting through. Thanks. Bye.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.